Welcome to the Chainout podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Hey everyone, that's right, Jeremy and Daryl, and welcome to episode 19. How's it going, Daryl?
19.
19, or...
Do you know that song?
No.
Oh, that was an old song from the 70s and 80s, I think. I forget who sang it, but it was about someone going to Vietnam when he was just 19.
Oh, I was going to borrow maybe a little
Okay.
Spanish from last episode and say, 19. Is that right? Yeah.
That's good. Good enough. I know
All
what you
right.
meant. Yeah. How are you doing, Jeremy?
Doing great, Daryl.
Good. I think we need to apologize to our listeners first
What are we going to apologize for?
because of last episode's intro. Because you came on here, you tried to make everybody laugh. You came on with your sunglasses and your Hawaiian shirt. And if you live in the Edmonton area, the day that it got released, we ended up having about 3 or 4 inches of snow again. So we went backwards in time back into winter. So, yeah.
Yes, I do apologize. The dude love magic did not keep the weather here. And you know, if you're a Simpsons fan, you could kind of take from Homer here and darn smarch weather.
I thought you were going to say Mr. Plow, but yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So it's limited at least for me, it's limited my time of getting out this week anyway. I haven't been out since last Saturday when the weather was nice and sunny. But hopefully going to try and get out this Saturday or maybe Sunday. And hopefully the snow will be gone by then.
Yeah, I think looking at it, the weather itself, the temperature isn't too bad. We'll be able to play in it. It's just a matter of not being too slippery underneath with, I know, as you've told me so many times, the freeze, the thaw.
See, starting to make sense now, aren't I? See?
I value your opinion, Daryl.
I value your opinion, but you're wrong.
I had it queued up.
So we are getting closer, Daryl, to our YouTube live plan that we've got coming on with the episodes. So everybody who's been watching has seen our little starting soon feature that you created, and then we've got our episode intro and that's all part of our effort to move toward the YouTube live.
Yeah, nobody's complained about the editing, like the lack of editing, should I say, because we're just recording it, we're putting it straight out onto YouTube with minimal editing that I've had to do a couple of times here and there, but eventually, that's the way that it's going to be. It's going to be a live episode recorded on YouTube, and when we hit stop or when we hit record, that's what you're going to get. And when we hit stop, that's going to be the final product. And who knows what it's going to look like. Maybe we'll be able to, get some new software. Maybe we'll have a producer, maybe we'll have our own intern, Ben, at some point down the line. But like we said last episode, just the schedule and the summer and everything else, we want to get these episodes out as fast as we can, give ourselves some more time to go play disc golf. And yeah, like you said, the plan is to not only just record them and put them out onto YouTube, but actually to maybe go live on a Wednesday, which is the day that we're looking at. We're going to be recording. That's the day that we said that we're going to go live. So maybe if there's a lucky listener or two out there that thinks it's a good idea and maybe wants to help us beta test going live on YouTube, maybe we can leave your name in the comments if you would be around 7:30 on a Mountain Standard Time on a Wednesday. If you feel like joining into the audience, leaving us some questions, being part of the show, things like that, let us know. Maybe we'll invite you in and you can beta test it for us, see how things go.
Yes. And Daryl and I have been working on a lot of things. I know you guys have seen our bloopers, and there are some keywords and things that you may not even know what we're talking about, but we just look at each other's eyes and we can't keep it together. So we've been working on trying to edit those out too, to try to keep a straight face as we do these episodes.
It's okay releasing them as a bonus clip, but that's when we cut it out and we don't put it out as part of the episode, because sometimes when we laugh, those little clips are, they're on Instagram, they're a maximum of 1 minute because we edited them down. But sometimes we can be laughing and not actually get back to what we're trying to say for 5 or 10 minutes. So that doesn't always work well when it's a live episode. And, maybe sometimes there's some inside jokes of things that we've said in the past, and those things will trigger me and Jeremy off, but it's not going to be much fun for the listeners who are just wondering why we're laughing at, a random word.
Yeah. So look, we hope you're looking forward to that, and definitely drop us in the comments if you're interested in beta testing and being in the live YouTube, and we'll see who we can get in to join us. I wanted to do, you know what, Daryl, the nice thing about the show, we're 19 episodes in now. Some things are starting to take lives of their own. And one of those things was we talked to Zoe, and when we talked to her a couple episodes ago, she told us about her ace. And then if you remember, we talked about her getting the ace and then going and giving Andrew Gillespie the hug, the postman.
Yep.
He gave him a hug. And then what did Andrew do? Then he got an ace his first throw at Tundra Toss.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I've been told that's now called the ace hug. So I heard from our listener, Jana, and she said she was actually out playing with Zoe and the postman and told him all about it and said, how's the ace hug working out for you? Get any more aces? And he had no idea what she was talking about because he wasn't a listener. Hopefully he is now. I'm not sure. But yeah, wasn't a listener.
Well, it's an opportunity to get an extra subscriber there, Jeremy.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
Postman, get on there, man. Subscribe. So, so they talked about that. And then afterwards, they continued to play the round. And at the end, Postman looked at Jana and said, Jana, I'm going to do something for you. And he walked up and he gave her a big hug. And he says, now you have the ace hug.
Oh,
so
okay.
Jana is sitting with the ace hug.
Right. So come on, Jana, step up your game. Let's get out there and get those aces. Don't hog the ace hug all to yourself. As soon as you make your ace, then you got to pass it on to somebody. And I'm just going to say that I might be out on the course sometime, somebody that hasn't, if you want to pass it on to somebody who doesn't have an ace yet. Don't pass it on to somebody that's already got one.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's a thing. We'll keep you updated. If we find out that Jana gets an ace or passes it on, we'll let you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. The ace hug. The hunt for the ace hug.
That's it. Another thing that happened was last episode we gave out our 100 subscriber prize pack.
We did. We actually got a response back. We said 48 hours, but I think when you messaged him, it was within like 10 minutes, right?
That's right. Yeah. Frolf Jerry. We weren't sure if he was a real person or not, but yeah, Frolf Jerry was definitely a real person located out in Manitoba. Yeah. So we shipped out the prize pack to him on the weekend, and I was just checking the tracking and got there yesterday. So awesome. Maybe he'll send us a picture. I'm not too sure, but if he does, we'll put that up on our socials so everybody can see that where the prize pack went. And can't wait to do it all again.
Yeah, to know that we actually did send it out. We are people of our words. We did send it. It did go to somebody. He is a real person. Congratulations, Frolf Jerry. Did we ever find out his real name?
We did, but we'll see. If he wants us to release it, we'll release it.
Yeah, okay. But he is a real person.
He is, definitely. So with that, quick little shout out, YouTube right now, 116 subscribers. Thank you, everybody, for listening, subscribing. Keep it up. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Instagram, 155 followers, and Facebook, 38 followers. This little podcast that we did just to have some fun is now growing to be something, and we thank you all for that.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, me and Jeremy have been getting messages. Excuse me. We've been getting messages and DMs from, before it was me and you was like, who can we ask? Who do we know? We'll ask Tim because he's part of, he's like the closest person to disc golf that we can get in our, in our kind of like our circle. Yes. Excuse me. Kristen and Brock, and, we started to put the feelers out a little bit. And now we're getting people messaging us that want to be on the podcast, which is awesome.
Yes. And we love it because we're going to be able to give you all of these Edmontonians, all of these Albertans, and all of these Canadians that we want to bring to you listeners.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, Daryl.
Yeah.
We got another guest for you tonight.
Let's just keep on rolling, Jeremy.
Okay. Moving to the script as I always do at this point.
Go for it.
Last week, our guest was from the West Coast. This week, our guest is from the East Coast of Western Canada. Hailing from Winnipeg, Manitoba, this Canadian MPO player has been a PDGA member since 2013. He finished in second place at Canadian Nationals last year and second place overall in the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. If you've watched him on coverage, he looks like he'd be fun to have on your card. Let's welcome Bryan Freese to the show. Bryan,
hi,
welcome to the show.
Good evening, Bryan. How are you doing? Can you hear us?
I'm a little tired. Yeah, I can hear you guys perfectly fine.
Perfect.
Can you guys hear me?
Good. We can. Loud and
Yes,
clear.
we can. So how's it going?
Yeah, I was a little bit tired. Got off work, played a cold round outside, Winnipeg weather, and home now and ready for you guys.
Good stuff.
Perfect. Yeah.
So
I
what's
think
Winnipeg?
I'd rather be playing a round of golf after work as well.
Yeah, it's good with daylight savings time now that I can actually get around in. It makes it so much better.
Yeah. What's Winnipeg weather sitting like right now?
Pretty good, I'd say. It was about -5, feels like 9 for that round, something like that.
Okay.
So not too bad. Last night it was like -27 in the night, so we don't want that. That's for sure.
No. Okay, so I've got to ask you, because this is a topic that me and Jeremy always talk about. Are you happy with it being -5, -10, constant cold weather, and the snow gets trampled down and it's just what it is? Or do you prefer when it warms up, you get those nice warm days where it warms up to +10, all the snow starts to melt, and then when you go back down into the sub-zero temperatures, all that ice turns into, or all the water turns into ice?
That's a hard one because I like the trampled down snow because you have more grip, and we unfortunately don't have very many tee pads here.
Right.
So the wet snow is a lot more grippy. We actually had an event last month, and the weather was about -5, and the snow was perfectly packed down. No slips, no falls, for me at least.
Yeah.
But we actually have an event this Saturday at another course, and the course is just completely ice. And it's like, try and land your skip 80 feet to the right of the basket and hope you kind of slide up to it. And if you got a putt, like fully commit, because if you miss, it's another 30-footer, So I'm kind of torn each way, I guess, for that question.
That's fair.
Yeah. And do you, like many of us, do you have maybe a set of winter putters that you go to in those types of conditions, or do you putt the same putter all year long?
I was switching between a harder putter in summer and then like a more, I guess, medium or softer putter in wintertime. This year, I didn't play very much winter golf, so I just kept the same putters in the whole time. But yeah, generally I'd switch putters. It feels more like a hard putter rather than the hard putter in winter doesn't feel good at all. It's just so rigid, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. And we find too with some of our harder putters, they flip over on you, and then it's like Chevy Chase in National Lampoon's Vacation, just riding down like a sled gone.
Exactly. Yeah. If you have any, I mean, you guys are, I'd say blessed with like hills and stuff where we're like, C for
flat
a day,
Well, that's when you look across and people say, "Oh, is that Saskatchewan?" You're like, no, that's Alberta. You just looked right past it from Manitoba, right?
Yeah, our mountains we have like Garbage Hill, which is like, I don't know, maybe 80 feet tall or something. That's the elevation here. So
yeah. So with or go ahead, Daryl.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, you mentioned that you got out for a round of golf there. Is that a local course, one close to your house you always get to, or do you like to mix it up and kind of go to different courses after work?
Unfortunately, that one's pretty much the exact opposite of where I live, but that one's close to work. So it's nice to just head up the highway, get to the course, get back on the highway, take the perimeter around to my house. So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Like I generally would prefer to go to like a different course that I enjoy more.
Mm-hmm.
But since the tournament is there, I figure I need to get a couple of practice rounds in because it's sure rusty and stuff. So
that's fair. Yeah.
And how many courses do you have in the Winnipeg area? Is there a lot, or?
I mean, compared to like some hotbeds, definitely not. But I mean, we have. I mean, I could count them or name them. Happyland Park, Pitch and Putt, Lakes, Outback, Le Barrier, 17 Wing, and then Stony Mountain. I'd say those are our 6 we got. Okay. Stony Mountain's about 10, 15 minutes outside of the city. Yeah. So I still consider that to be relatively close.
Yeah. Are they 9 holes or 18 holes? You said one was a pitch and putt.
Happyland is a 9-hole, 9 baskets, 18 tee pads, and same as 17 Wing, 9 baskets, 18 tee pads. The rest are 18 except for Kilkona Outback, which is 13 currently, and we're having a tournament fundraiser for the baskets in the beginning of May to get the full 18, and that course is going to be great once it has full 18. It's always had so much potential and stuff, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that'll be the course to go to. Like if we came to Winnipeg and we said, where should we go once those other 9 baskets are in, that'll be it.
If you came to Winnipeg and those baskets were in, it would be a toss up between Le Barrier Park, Stony Mountain, and Outback for sure. Those 3, all good mix of everything.
Yeah. And are they, when you're out there, are they fairly close together, or are you kind of spread out across the city?
Pretty spread out. Stony Mountain to Outback is probably 25, 30 minutes. And then Outback to Le Barrier is probably 25 minutes, but then Outback to Stony Mountain is probably like 45. It's basically like the north part, the east part, and the south part.
Oh, well, you just said music to Daryl's ears. You said that there's a course on the south side of Winnipeg.
Barrier. Yeah.
I say
Jeremy's making fun of me, Brian, because we don't have a disc golf course on the south side of Edmonton. I always have to try. We have like 4 or 5 up in the northeast of Edmonton, or on the north side of Edmonton, and it's kind of my mission that I keep bringing it up whenever I can to anyone who listen, that we don't have a disc golf. I mean, it's probably half an hour, 20-minute drive, depending on traffic, for me to get to those courses, because I live on the south side of Edmonton. So I'll complain. It's probably 20 minutes or half an hour for you to get from where you live, Jeremy, to the courses either way. So I just complain because, there's none on the south side.
That's a common thing, It's like, well, we don't have anything in the east, or we don't have anything in the west. And it's such a common thing.
I've never been east of Sherwood Park. If you know Alberta, I've never been east of Sherwood Park. So
that's where Chad lives, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So for me to go out to Winnipeg will be a bit of a drive.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, Brian, and it was funny. We were on the podcast and we were talking with our local president, and he was telling us about the newest course that was going to come into Edmonton. And what it is that we have 2 courses in the northeast side of Edmonton, side by side, Rundle and Hermitage.
Yeah.
And then the river is usually decided as the divider of what north side and south side is. But on that side of town, it's still pretty north.
Okay.
So we found out that the brand new course that's going in this year is right across the river. You could pretty much walk across the bridge from Rundle and get to it. And we said, well, it's south side because it's south of the river, but Daryl was not impressed.
I remember being in Rundle Park and looking across the water and being like, wow, that property is amazing. So if that's like, I looked at 18 across from 18 across the water, and it looked gorgeous there. And is that the place?
In the general area, for sure. Yes,
and that course is going to be great. Like I hope it's designed well and whatever. But another course is another course.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about taking the pressure off the other courses, right? So they're not always stacked on a Saturday and the weekend.
Sure.
So
adding those extra courses we have in Winnipeg, it makes it so much better now. Now there's not like as you said, stacked up tee times and stuff, like 20 people on a card, and groups of 9, 10 stuff like that.
Those are the worst.
That is Rundle Park in the summer right now. It's you get there, and the nice thing is we've now got kind of a member, can we call it that, Daryl? It's kind of like a members only course, and the fact that it is course that you need to be a member of the Edmonton Disc Golf Association in order to sign a waiver. So it's not anybody can just go play it, because it's on private hospital grounds. And it's a great little course.
It's called Niskapusquak.
Okay, I don't think I've heard of it. I might have seen something.
Yeah, it's just opened up in the last, I think it's only been just over a year old that it's been open.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been up there in a while. I know you guys have a ton of really great courses just outside Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been to a private one north of Edmonton that was really fun. South
Wild
of
Man.
Edmonton
Wild Man.
Wild Man. Yeah, that was excellent. I had fun there.
That's a tricky course. Yeah,
and that's been doing
the outskirts. It's like, they couldn't just be right in Edmonton. Like, this course is great. This course is great. That course is great. Like Wetaskiwin, it was one that I wanted to go to, but I never had the chance to. And I heard that's one of your top courses for sure.
Yeah. Go back and listen to one of our episodes with Brendan McKinstry. He's a owner of BR Disc Golf, and also designs courses as well. He designed the Camrose Disc Golf course, and we asked him like if there was a kind of his top favorite golf course in Alberta, and he picked Wetaskiwin as well. He picked kind of a good trip for us to get on a bus and start at one and just kind of make a day trip of it. And Wetaskiwin was one of them. And we were lucky enough to play Wetaskiwin for the Battle 6 tournament that we had last year. And yeah, I would say it's one of the better courses. I mean, I don't know if I'd rate it higher than Rundle or Hermitage, but it just offers something different, right? Which is what it's all about.
From what I've heard, it's more professional. Is that correct or no?
We'd say it's a little tighter. Like the lines are tighter, and you need to, but maybe the distance isn't quite what you need for a real professional course. Well, for the far tees, I bet it is. Hey, Daryl.
Okay, I might be confusing it with something else then.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're looking at it definitely forces you to pick your shot shapes. It's not just straight wide open fairways for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like
for
that.
sure.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, Bryan, I think we've warmed you up, and I don't know that you've seen many episodes of the show or not. Look at him there. He's loose. So one of the things that we've done with this show is we always want to ask our guests how they got into disc golf, but just asking them straightforward like that is kind of boring. Okay. So I started out a while ago doing these superhero origin stories. So I'd kind of cater one and see if it was maybe similar to what your story was, mainly to give you a little bit of time just to think about it and to add some fun to it. But I've kind of done a lot of superheroes, but I'm not just a fan of superheroes. I'm also a fan of the cinema. And so I thought I would borrow from an action movie for you. So I'm going to go to my script because I'm really happy about this one. Okay. Here we go. Maybe you've been playing disc golf for what feels like forever, or since 2013 at least. You worked hard at your craft, becoming an expert marksman, and some would even say deadly with your drives and putts. After years of playing, you started taking it easy, not competing as often, and felt it was time to retire your favorite disc, Daisy. One night, your house was raided while you were away, and someone did the unspeakable. They destroyed Daisy. Some might say that put you at your wit's end. Every day since that fateful night, you have entered tournaments and decimated your opponents on the course by the hundreds. People keep asking you if you're back, and you're ready to say, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. Now, that may not be exactly how you got into disc golf, but why don't you tell us?
Yeah, that's almost word for word. My dad was playing it as recreational thing to get some exercise and stuff. And I started hanging out with him again. I hadn't seen him in a while. I moved back from Calgary and stuff. So I wanted to spend more time with him, and he asked me to go play disc golf. And I was like, what is that? That sounds stupid. Maybe a little bit more vulgar than that. But we eventually did it, and we had like a Spider-Man frisbee from like a dollar store and some other actual frisbees,
Right.
And we went to like the Happyland Park in Winnipeg, which is our easiest course by far. There's 150-foot holes and stuff. And I shot like plus 30. He shot plus, 30. We had a blast still. And from there, he actually got some discs from a friend of his, like actual discs. And I'm like, oh, these are different, let's try them. And they go further, and like, oh, okay, now you can do this and stuff. Right. And I started borrowing his discs like almost every weekend to take friends. Like, let's go play. And then my dad didn't like that I was better than him, so he stopped playing, and I just kept going and going. Got to buy this new disc because it's supposed to be faster. Got to buy this, got to buy that. And I was buying stuff, throwing stuff, and 6 rounds a day before I was going to work and stuff. So wow. That's pretty much the origin of it. From there, I traveled lots. I wanted to get into it as quick as possible. So I played my first PDG event less than a year after I less than a year after I even knew what disc golf was.
Okay.
I went to Minnesota for it. So I traveled 6 hours for a C tier. Like, I was just dedicated. Like, okay, I'm going to drive, I'm going to go. And from there, tournaments, I was doing like 20 tournaments a year and stuff, Minnesota, North Dakota, stuff like that. And then, going to the Winnipeg ones when we could, but there was always only 1, 2, 3 at the most,
Right.
And yeah, from there, I managed to get Rookie of the Year in 2016, which was like a huge surprise and stuff. And
Wow.
I guess I earned some points. There was some complications to it where I might have got a little lucky, but I mean, in the end, in the record books, it says Bryan
Yeah,
Freese.
exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and then bought a couple houses, and then the tournaments kind of slowed down a little bit. So from there, I'm just kind of, get some money, go to a tournament and stuff. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So yeah, those were exactly the same story, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I know Daisy, of course. Yeah. She's buried in the backyard, and rest in peace to Daisy. So
Oh, that's awesome. So you were that makes more sense, because when I was looking kind of at your PDGA tournaments, I did see a lot of Minnesota and I saw a lot of US ones. So that was part of that reason, was that you actually had to cross the border just because there weren't events at the time really to play at otherwise?
for sure. There wasn't a lot of competition either. Without sounding completely like I don't know, we didn't have people for a long time. I was the highest rated person at like 960. I was like 60 points rated than the next highest player. We just didn't have competition. We didn't have courses. We didn't have tournaments. So I needed to in my head, I needed to get better, and I need it to go to a place like Minnesota where they have 1,000 rated players. They have 300 courses. Like they have so I figure that's the best way to just like get to it,
Yeah.
It almost sounds like the same as Miguel. We had Miguel Alvarado on last week, and his kind. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, his kind of origin story was kind of the same. He grew up in a town, and he met a couple of guys, and they kind of wanted him to donate money, weekly to this disc golf league that they had, and he decided to get better and better, and it turned out that he was quite good at it. And he was kind of beating them, and then they said, oh, well, if you want to get better, you got to move to the next town. There's a guy over there who challenges so and so. So he went to that town to get better. And then he went to the top of that league, and then he had to go to the next city. So he kept moving to try and get better competition. So sounds pretty much the same as what you're up.
You remember the old Pokemon games when you got to like go to the gym leader? And
yes,
exactly.
Got to go to Johto region, and then
got to face that gym leader and stuff. I'm not even really big into Pokemon. It just reminded me of it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
When you were traveling down to the States and doing some of those tournaments, did you happen to run into anybody who you see now on the Disc Golf Pro Tour when they're up there? Like, were you running into the Kale LaViscas or anybody like that you were playing?
For sure, yeah. I played on Kale's card like numerous times in Minnesota. We get card. Usually it was get carded up the first round, maybe the second round, and I'm like, oh my god, Kale LaVisca, and such a nice guy. So like that kind of reaction isn't even warranted. It's not like he's going to be like, oh, I'm Kale LaVisca. Like he's, hey man, how's it going? Canada, how's it going? He called me. He still calls me Canada. If I saw him in Arizona, he'd be like, Canada. Like for sure.
That's awesome.
The only player to ever come out of Canada, Bryan Freese.
So like nobody did it, right? Like I was like the only person traveling down. Like I wasn't one of 10 to travel from Winnipeg or like Manitoba. It was me. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Another big one was Ezra Aderhold.
Oh yeah.
I met him 5 years ago, something like that. He was playing an advanced tournament, and him and Garrett Everson, I don't know if you know that name as well.
I've heard the name.
20 rated. He's also from South Dakota.
Okay.
They were in advanced, and their scores were beating us in open. And we're like, who are these kids? Like, who is this? And so we played in a couple tournaments together once he got to open. And so we competed a little bit and stuff. So, I was playing with him. And then, one winter, he's just like, I'm going to take my Prius and go to Texas. And from then on, he just like evolved. And now he's excellent. Like, he was always excellent, but he just got that next level, right? Like, going to play in those tournaments and having a tournament every other weekend or every weekend even, right?
So two things I just want to touch on there. So you said you met Ezra when he was just a kid. Has he always been jacked?
Yeah.
He's just that gym rat. Like he's that type of guy all the time.
By a kid, I mean it's I don't know. For some reason, you think of it like
I guess.
And I was like, he's in advance, and Garrett was a kid, so I assumed they're the same age. But I think Ezra might be a year or two older. But he's always been pretty fit.
Yeah. I just had this, and then the second point was I just had this image of a beefed up guy muscles hardly being able to be contained sitting in a Prius.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not the type of car that I would
sitting.
associate with Ezra Idaho, but yeah.
And he had to sleep in it too, so I don't even know how that worked.
Yeah,
Good on gas mileage, I guess. Yeah.
Right?
traveling the 20 hours or whatever it would be from South Dakota to Texas to
Yeah.
play.
That's good
Well,
on him. You know, if I was another part of my life, you know, I would do that too. You know, that's dedication.
Yeah.
I'm proud of him. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Bryan, when I was looking at your PDGA history, I was going to try and test you on it, but I think you already know the answer to this one. So you do remember your very first PDGA sanctioned tournament, where it was and what the course was?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
It's the Benton Beach Open,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Osprey, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And there's a C tier, and I played intermediate for my first tournament, and I think there was 6 people in my division.
Man, look at you go. I was thinking, because when I was looking at all of your events, I'm like, not that I was trying to trip you up. I was just wondering if when you played that many events, if the first one would still be that solid in your memory. But you're exactly right. Yeah, you played MA2, you won by 1 stroke. And
Do you remember who you beat?
Maybe
With that name?
No.
Steven Marcadon.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, Marcadon. Yeah. Okay, I'm a Steve.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, because I think Daryl, like he was just mentioning earlier about that Wetaskiwin tournament we played, and he and I played in that together. And I think you probably say, Daryl, even every tournament you play from now, that one will probably stick in your mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You always remember your first, right? You would think.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, there's always a story that, without saying any names, a top pro in Minnesota was at that tournament, like one of the top guys. And we were warming up, throwing to a basket. The basket was probably like 250 feet. And like, you know, I'm like, that's a good pull for me, you know, at the time. And he's throwing like thumbers and like every kind of shot at the basket. And you know, I'm watching him, and then we go pick up our discs and stuff. And I'm like, hey man, like, are you playing MA2? He's like, no, I'm playing pro, and kind of like looked at me like this. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. How dare you?
Because after we became like friends, and now if I see him, it's like, hey, how's it going? You know, so yeah, a little funny story, but
oh yeah, awesome. And those things happen on the course for sure.
Oh yeah.
Do you get to go down south of the border and play many tournaments down there now?
Generally I'd go to like 1 or 2 in Minnesota if I can afford it. Generally, North Dakota and stuff like that is only a couple hours away, so those are a lot easier to go to, because I can go to them by myself and stay with a friend or something. I don't need to rely on a hotel or splitting with somebody else. So I try and do as many like B tiers and stuff in North Dakota as I can, just because it's so much more accessible.
Right.
Then say Minnesota, you know, if I'm going to Minnesota, it's a 7-hour drive, and then I'm hoping somebody comes to split costs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like to go there. There's so many A tiers there, and the competition's great, and I just love Minnesota golf. So I'd like to go every year, but sometimes you just can't afford it and stuff. So
yeah.
Well, Bryan, that's a good thing that you've had some experience down there, because Daryl and I are eyeing up, and what I tend to do, Bryan, is I plant a lot of seeds. I just kind of put these ideas and I put them in Daryl's mind, and hopefully they'll grow and then they'll actually happen. So the one I keep planting and then watering and planting and watering is that 2025 Masters Worlds is in Minnesota next year. So,
do you know, like, does it have courses or anything, or is it that's just the vague thing of it?
Yeah, I think some of the courses have been selected, but I'm not sure. I don't have them off the top of my head. But the one selling point I said to Daryl is, I said, not only can we play in these 5 courses or play at these courses that are there, we can also take a little drive out to Preserve and maybe check that out too.
Yeah, Preserve is something. Yeah, that was an eye opener. It was like, wow, people get birdies out here. Like, I feel like I'm okay at disc golf, and I went there and I was like, okay, you really gotta, like Ricky Wysocki, his, what was it, 15, 16 down last year, I think.
Right. Yeah.
That is way more impressive than like anyone knows. Like that, like if you haven't been there before, it's hard to get birdies there. Like coming from my skill level, I'm just like, it's hard. So that's definitely a place to check out though, especially if you could watch the event happening and stuff. Like that's, live sports is always great, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the one thing, Bryan, we do is that we try to keep our podcast more focused on Canadian. We're talking to Canadian players, we're talking to local players, and a lot of people cover, Tour Life and Staggered Stance, all of those guys. They're covering the Pro Tour. We want to be all over the Canadian Disc Golf Tour.
Cool.
So that's kind of what we've been doing. When we talked to Miguel last week, we talked to him about some of the events that he played in. So you played 4 events last year in the Canadian Disc Golf Tour, and it was the, what do you call that? The inaugural Disc Golf Tour. So can we cover a couple of those events? Just get your thoughts on them and how you felt about them?
Sure. I'll try my best.
All right. Well, you started out at TCO out in Kamloops. So you did a drive out west and you played in that one there. And well, why don't you just start and tell us a little bit about it, and then we might have some questions to throw in there as well.
Okay. Overall, I flew there. The drive was too much. That's too many days off work. My workplace is a little bit stingy with days off and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I flew there, used some vacation days, luckily. Stayed with Carrie Neal, who was an amazing host.
Yes.
Noah Higgins was with us and Thomas Gilbert. So that house was awesome to hang out with.
Yeah. What a powerhouse house, hey?
She told us that Thomas stayed with her. She didn't mention Bryan Freese and Noah Higgins also.
Come on.
Yeah. What a house.
She honestly didn't even know who I was prior to me staying there. Thomas vouched for me, saying, "Hey, he's a good guy. Like he's stand-up gentleman." So that was lucky because if you don't know somebody, it's hard to get somebody to just stay with me for a few days, right? So, that was my first time ever in Kamloops. I always get those confused. Kamloops, Kelowna. Kamloops.
Yes, Kamloops.
I had never played those courses before. I thought they were fun, very fun. I was very disappointed with the way I played. I think it was a little early in the year for somebody coming from minus 30 temperatures. I just felt rusty, So very well run. What else could we say about that? I had a great time overall, and anytime you travel for disc golf, it's such an adventure and vacation, and I love doing that kind of stuff.
Well, Bryan, for me, I had just started playing disc golf in the last 3 years now, and I had played my first tournament, which was a Tundra Toss tournament in Edmonton, and it was a C tier, and I was still trying to figure out things and what actually CBA meant and all of that stuff. And I had a buddy out in Kamloops, and I still had some WestJet dollars burning a hole in my pocket from COVID. And I heard some of the kind of local people just talking about, oh, yeah, we're going to head out to Kamloops. I says, oh, I'll go visit my buddy. I'll go in this tournament. And I went to that tournament, and my eyes were like, oh, my gosh, there's like 60-something people in MA4 with me. And it was quite the event. But when I got to Rose Hill, that even to this day is still one of my favorite courses that I've played, just because it's got such great views and those death putts and everything else.
Yeah, coming from the prairies and stuff, you go to a course like that and you're like, wow, like we don't have this in Winnipeg. Like I'm not in Kansas anymore.
No. Well, I did pick out a couple things out of there. Like you finished, even if you said you didn't play that well for the start of the year, you still finished tied for 7th there with your, I guess, housemate Noah.
Yeah. You always have higher hopes and stuff. And I went in, I watched the coverage from there and I went into it thinking, oh yeah, like I could for sure score here and stuff. So every person is always wanting to do better. If I got first, I'm like, I could have won by more strokes because of this and this and this, it's like, it's people are always trying to be better and then stuff.
Everybody always leaves putts out on the course, right? Those shots that you should have had back. You think, I could have shaved 4 or 5 shots off that round. I could have made 3 or 4 extra places. So yeah, I hear you.
If I didn't slip on that tee pad, hit that tree, this and that, then I'd be minus 18, and then
Yeah.
I'd win by 20 strokes.
And then you'd be on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, you and Daryl are talking the same, because I'm always trying to be the guy, well, what about that? So right now I'm going to be like, but what about that nice eagle in round 3 on hole 16? Do you remember that, Bryan?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
That was actually, it sucks because, how do I explain it? So I'm not having a good round at all. I'm trying to get back to par. I started off complete trash, like so embarrassing. Like the first few holes you're trying to get birdies, and I was like bogeying and parring, and yeah, I was not having a good time, and I'm trying to keep I'm pretty even keel on the course. You'll mostly see me smiling, even if I'm having a bad round. So sometimes it's hard to tell. And we got to that hole, and it was a ripping, I think, tailwind, and then there's
Right.
OB left, OB right, and so I just smashed Lucid Escape. I mean, it's irrelevant, but I smashed this fairway driver on hyzer, flipped up dead straight, and I'm like, whoa, that went so far. Like, okay, that's awesome. Like, I'm so pumped, and I get up there and thinking like I'll just have like a nice little upshot, and then take my easy, I guess, birdie, and we were chase card, so the lead card's behind us, and they start lining the fairways and stuff, as you would do watching the main lead card.
Right.
So there's people all down the right side, all down the left side, and they're like waiting at the tee pad at this point. And I just stepped up and I was like, whatever, I'm already playing bad. Literally thinking in my head, nah, who cares? And the basket's on the edge of a hill, like to the left, and it slopes down.
Gotcha.
If you've been there, maybe you know what I'm talking about. And I just straddle, threw up this huge putt, and just dead center, and everybody just went like, and I'm no way comparing myself to Macbeth, but it felt like the Macbeth, like where he turns around and gives like the because I turned around and did the exact same thing, and it was just like this crazy feeling of like happiness, and I'm just like, whoa, that was incredible. And Park Pro was filming, and there was a camera guy there.
Right.
I'm not sure if it was Andre or something. I didn't know them at the time. So I'm like, maybe they got that. And I'm like, oh, that would be the coolest clip ever. Come to find out, they didn't film it. I messaged them. And so now it's just in my memory, and maybe somebody that saw it. But and
the putt gets longer every time you think about it. And
it was at least 180 feet. It was in the air for so long. I was actually I saved a baby that fell out of the tree. Like, it was crazy.
It was everything.
Like, oh my God. I'm like, I have a girlfriend.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Like, to be real, that was my best shot of the tournament by far. Like that almost made the tournament for me, because I wasn't playing at all to my expectations. So
right.
Yeah.
Cool.
At least you can pull some. Yeah. At least you can pull some good out of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. And that's the stuff we want to talk about. We want to hear about, because we see scorecards. And as you said, sometimes we can see that coverage on Park Pro, but usually you have to be on lead card to do it right now, exactly. to actually get to see that coverage. But to hear you tell it so vividly, it's like we were there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I wish I was there. Yeah, like you said, you were lucky enough to be there. I've just been watching the coverage back from the Park Pro boys. So, I mean, we're thankful for any coverage that we can have of the Canadian Disc Golf Tour, which is awesome to see. But we're just waiting with bated breath now for the release of the new schedule for this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the second tournament, and you can have to tell us some, because we don't have a ton of information. But the second tournament you went to was the Manitoba Provincials.
Correct. We have our provincials every year. Excuse me. It's always been in Winnipeg. So far, pretty much our disc golf population is condensed into Winnipeg, with a little bit of people in Morden, a little people in Brandon, smaller towns in Manitoba, if you're not familiar. And so
Daryl's not. I got a bit of it, but yeah.
Okay. This was the first provincials with our new course, Stony Mountain. So it was a little special. And the year before, I did not play well. Actually, the past 2 years, I didn't play well. So this year I was determined to play well at provincials, and I did. So that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was able to draw on there, just kind of looking at the cards and that, it looked like you were kind of battling with Marshall Taves for a bit, and then Austin Boge kind of came in towards the end to get back into the battle with you. But you ended up taking the tournament, right? You took it home,
Yeah.
and it looked like that last round even was the hot score. So that seems a little odd. Was it a windy day or a tough course, or what was it that even was the score that got the win?
It was, as far as I remember, it was very windy. The course in general is pretty hard. On a non-windy day, I would guess -4 or 5 is 1,000 rated.
Oh, wow.
From the
Wow.
longs. It's a good. If you haven't seen the coverage, it's a good mix of like wide open bombs with some placement shots, and then very tight woods that aren't definitely not long holes at all. Like some are under
Okay.
200 and stuff. So, but the wood, like I guess the back and forth of 50-kilometer winds out in the open, trying not to flip your disc, landing in specific spots, and then going to the woods, and then going to throw putters, and with tight, like you got to put touch on it now, and then going back out, and then there's a couple holes where you do the same thing again. I guess it works well for people to not score well. That's weird. That's worded weirdly, but that's kind of what I'm going with there.
Yeah. Well, and that's one, we will have to go back and watch it, but we spent a lot of time moving on that third tournament. We spent a lot of time watching the Nationals coverage. You got a lot of feature time on the Park Pro coverage there, and that just looked to me like everything about it was a great tournament.
Yeah, Nationals. To double back to provincials,
Sure.
I won, yes, but I was more mad that I played bad because in general I'd rather play well and lose than win and play bad.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, but I'm sure a lot of people don't feel that way. Like,
No, I'll take the win no matter how it comes.
So, I was not happy, and I don't know if it showed on the coverage. I can't remember, but I'm hoping it didn't, because now so it's not a secret. But yeah, Nationals. I've played those courses many times. Thunder Bay is 7 hours away, which is close in my head.
Seems like everything is 7 hours away from you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I can go 7 hours to Minnesota or Minneapolis, or 7 hours to Thunder Bay. So I have lots of experience there, and I've won a tournament there before. Never, obviously not Nationals and stuff. And then so I was going into it with like a lot of confidence, and I had been practice putting, which is, my practice putting sessions are always few and far between. Unfortunately, I shouldn't be saying that, but so yeah, I went into it with a lot of confidence, and my first round I once again was upset with, and I luckily, because I'm old and a pioneer of the sport, my PDJ number got me onto the lead card, and then I guess when I got on the lead card, I started playing well, and overall I was very happy with how it went.
Yeah.
Do you find when you do have the cameras on you like that, is that something that motivates you now, or does it make you nervous, or does it do all of those things?
I think like I've been filmed before in the past a couple times. I got filmed at Nationals last year as well. And this Nationals this year, the second round and also the third round, was the first time I felt that I played well and felt comfortable being filmed. Because I always went into it with such jitters and like, oh no, like, oh my God. The first time I ever was filmed, I was leading a tournament in Ontario, and it's the first time I ever got filmed. And I was playing with Zach Melton, and I think Chris Oz, and Ziggy Bierkoven from Michigan, and one other person. But I was like shaking. I was so nervous, and it showed in my play. I played terrible and finished like 6th or something. And since then, I've just been like, okay, my next one's going to be good. My next one, when I show my friends and family, it's going to be good. I played good. I made this. No, so it's slowly progressing, rather than shooting 950s, I started shooting like 970s or 980s, and then maybe a 990, and then nationals. I'm like, okay, now I'm shooting 1,000 rounds, and then I started feeling good about it. And yeah, overall, I was very happy with the tournament.
Yeah, and you were with like I think Jeremy mentioned there, Callan Chat, the one of the young kids there, watching his progression. He's a good player, hey?
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
The first round, we're like, oh my god, who is this kid? Like, what are you doing to this course? And it wasn't designed to get murdered like this. And you need to take it easy because
You're making us look bad.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god. And I'm sure the people on the card, like the top people in the tournament were probably thinking, okay, this Kalen guy, he's new to the scene. He shot this amazing round. He's probably not going to hold on to it. Like he's probably going to like realistically, like he'll probably blow up.
Yeah.
In round 2, I'm playing with him. So much composure. His putting's amazing. He's such a level-headed kid. And I was so like, I hate to say proud because it makes it seem like we're like close or something, but I was like so impressed by how he played, how he looked, everything. The foot fault that we don't talk about. He just pushed through. Didn't matter. I'm gonna birdie the next hole. I'm gonna make my putts. I'm not gonna, nothing's gonna phase me. Held on, leading into the last round. A couple of unfortunate things. Tied with Casey and I on the last hole to win the tournament. Like he's gonna be a force. Like it's crazy, and everybody's said that, and I'm not the first person to think that, and I won't be the last.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm only going to touch it so lightly, Brian.
You've been told not to touch it, Jeremy.
Very lightly. I was going to say the only thing I had to say when I watched it, and you said the football with Galen, as I said this, is I know that people kind of tried to make a bad guy and everything out of the situation. But to me, in the sport and when we're playing, the disc had moved when he had taken his walk up. So to me, addressing that and calling that, I don't think that was as big of a deal as anybody needed to make it to be, just because if we don't call these things, then where are the rules, right? There are no rules at that point. So
my stance on it is exactly that. How can you see something that happens so fast and assume that happened, and then like from both ways, right? Like Thomas saw something, let's reinforce the rules, right? He plays on the pro tour. Like it's expected on the pro tour. Of course, he's going to go into any tournament thinking, let's do the rules. And then, when people are watching in the crowd, they're like, why is he doing that? Right. So, and Kalen took it well. Thomas did the right thing. Everybody's great.
Yeah. And even watching it, like, I don't know if everybody just decided to blow it up, because you watch it on coverage. It didn't even look like it was a big deal for the four of you on the card. It was like, okay, no, this is how we have to play it. And Kalen was like, okay. And you moved on, and it didn't affect his game. It didn't affect Thomas's game. They just continued to play.
Yeah. There was very, very limited editing, if any, on that.
Right.
For sure. It was foot fault, second. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then he threw a shot. Like it was.
Yeah.
Like,
I think people just want to talk about things, right, Brian? Like they're looking for things to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Always.
Was there
always everything.
Was there any indication like prior, like it happened, and any warnings, or was that just like the first time it happened and that was the first call?
It was the first time, and it was,
yeah. I think maybe that's why people are talking about it then, is because there was no like warnings, or like it wasn't something that, it was just like completely out of the blue, first offense, going to call you on it, even if it was stand out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it looked a little harsh. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I understand both sides of it, but I mean, like the rules are rules. We thought he saw something, and it turned out to be wrong once the camera replayed it, and that's unfortunate, and that's life.
Well, and that's like the same thing had happened when that throw in the women's tournament where it was over the water. And I'm trying to remember, was that USDGC or the women's tournament there?
I think it was USD. Yeah, USD. I'm just trying to remember who
Throw
it was.
pink, I think.
Throw pink. That's right.
Yeah, but anyways, they did the same thing, and it's like
Yeah.
we can't tell with the naked eye. You do the best you can. But anyways, let's move
Yeah.
on from
Moving
that.
on.
Let's go to the highlight that I want to say. Well, you probably had a number of highlights that round, but we just watched it. Daryl and I did watch it about 2 times or 3 times before we came on with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was round 2. Your awesome eagle where you threaded the gap on 15 there.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
It was.
Very happy with it. I don't think it's a par 4, but
that's what I
I
said.
was still very happy with that birdie. Yeah, my caddy actually helped me decide on a disc. I was trying to choose between 2 discs, and Xavier, he decided, oh, there's a little bit of headwind. Maybe you should do the little more stable one. That way it flips up a little later into the headwind. And, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. It's always nice having a caddy that knows disc golf, just as well, right?
Right.
And, yeah, threw the shot, hit the gap, went through, heard claps, was happy.
What did you end up throwing? Do you remember? What was that choice that Xavier suggested?
Yeah, it was I don't actually remember the other disc, but I threw a CD1 Discmania.
Okay.
Yeah. On the coverage when we were watching it back, I was saying to Jeremy that you hit the gap, but it's not like a normal gap where you think that it's like 30, 40 feet off the tee. Like that's a mid fairway gap that you have to hit, and then it opens up when it gets near the basket as well. How far is that gap off the tee pad?
Geez, probably like 175 feet.
Yeah, okay, that's what I said about that, because it's 4 on the coverage. It said it was 415, and it looked like it was like halfway, maybe somewhere a little bit under. But
yeah, it's definitely like, it's not an easy hole. Obviously, it goes uphill, and then the gap itself is, sorry, I was trying to measure, maybe like 10 to 12 feet across. And then 175 feet. So like, it was a great birdie. It was a great birdie. I was very happy with it.
Yes. Well, and that led you into round 3, and then unfortunately that was where maybe Kalen's inexperience and stuff started to happen. He kind of fell off a little bit in that 3rd round, and even in the coverage you could see that he was getting a little frustrated, I think, down on him. And that's just something that will come with experience, right? The more you play, the more you'll be able to manage that. But you and Casey certainly kept surging to get it to a pretty epic finish there at the end.
Yeah, wow, it was epic. I started off, I can't even remember the beginning of the round. Not playing super well. I missed a putt and it was faced with like a bigger comebacker and squeaked it in there. And I was like, okay, we're okay. Got some birdies. And then I think I started to slow down a bit. Casey and everybody were like 5 strokes ahead, 4 strokes ahead. And then I just started birding. And Casey had a couple of unfortunate holes, and we're on hole 17. And Casey was 2 strokes ahead at that time of me and Kalen, and he throws OB, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, if I just put it on the island, get a birdie, like we're tied and going to the last hole. Kalen and I did just that, put it in there, and it was like, holy crap. This is hole 18 and I'm tied for the lead at nationals. Like, this is happening. Like, I just got to chill. And then, my nerves got the best of me on that drive. I was trying to throw basically just a hyzer to get around the trees, because you want to be around the Mando to the right, exactly like Joe did.
Yeah.
And I just smashed the Annie, and I was like, well, it went far, but way out of position.
Right.
So it took me, usually I'm a pretty quick player. I don't know if it shows on coverage, but I'm, there's only one person that's ever been close to as fast as me. And he's actually from Edmonton, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
okay.
Well, maybe not. Sorry. Lost my train of thought. You were
saying the Annie went and you were out of position?
Out of position. Kalen throws OB, unfortunately. It's on coverage, but I have this weird spike hyzer where I'm trying to throw it, 100 feet in the air, get it to land on the green, over the water, surrounded by OB, and I'm just like, I'm like
on
trying
a hill
to spike it in there. I have no other angle at the basket. Casey has that bomb forehand. He goes the back door, and he was very close to clipping something and going OB. And I was like, oh, like he threw a beautiful shot, like excellent, right? I never want to see people screw up. I want to be the one beating them, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yes.
he got on the green. I'm like, let's go, let's like, I just started getting, like pumped up. I got this. We're going to do this. Throw this spike hyzer, and everybody claps. And I'm like, oh, how close am I? Like, oh, you're in the circle. And from Casey's shot, I heard you're outside the circle. He's outside the circle. So I'm like, oh, okay. We're actually switched. So when I got up to that putt that I had, I was expecting him to go up and putt it out. And then it's like, oh, like you're up. I'm like, oh. And like excuses are for the week, I just, the only excuse I had is that I was just like, oh, I thought I was in the circle. So I was just like preparing putter for outside the circle, whatever. And I'm always quick to putt. So I go a step up to my lie, and it's just like a little step putt that I do. I'm like, okay, I got this, step putt, too short, cage. Casey's going to make this for sure. He knew it too.
Yeah.
But if he misses, he's making it. He hits it. And I've never been so happy to get second before in my life. Like it was like a relief. It was like, I knew I could do really well at nationals, and I knew I could compete. And it was like, it finally showed. I'm like, okay, see, I can do this, guys. Putting has always been a thing that's held me back, I'd say. Like I've always been a fairly good driver, thrower.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Garrett Girthy-esque thing where he's not the same level, but he's an amazing thrower. He could use some work putting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm the same way. And I started practice putting last year a little bit more, at all. And it showed, and I was very happy with that result. So
yeah,
it was fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was just going to say that obviously you must have got over your nerves of being on camera to be able to do that under the big stage on the big stage and end up, like you said, if your head's not in the game when you step up to that putt, like it's one thing for your head not to be in the game when you're driving, but when you have to putt and things like that, that's where you need to be fully concentrated. One thing I wanted to touch on, you said that in the beginning there, you didn't play so well. And on coverage, they mentioned it that you had a heel injury to start the round there. It didn't seem like it affected you too late on during the round. Obviously, you're draining those birdies, but I definitely noticed it on the first tee when you took your drive. You kind of like pivoted on your heel rather than planting your foot.
Yeah, the night before, we went out for dinner, and I had like a pop. We'll say.
I knew that's where it was going.
Maybe 2 pops, and we went to where our other friends from Winnipeg were staying at the hotel. Yeah. We were just hanging out in the hotel room talking and stuff. And at the most, I probably had one more pop. And I don't credit that being the reason. I credit it more of like I still have that young kid inside me, even though I'm not the same size, not the same, age and stuff.
Yeah.
We left and we took the stairs, and I grew up in a 5-story apartment building, and I'm sure most people can think about this, but like I'd grab the hand railings at the top of the stairs and then jump down the whole set of stairs, and I'd do that all the way down to see how fast I could get down.
Yeah.
So I did that with I was wearing Vans actually, and they don't have a lot of padding.
Right.
They're because I don't know, maybe for board feel for the skateboard or whatever, but
yeah,
I did that. And at some point while I was doing it, I felt like pain in my heel. Sorry. And yeah, I woke up the next day, I don't know, 7 a.m, and I was like, I can't even walk.
Wow.
And I was like, oh no. And I'm like texting my girlfriend. I'm like, what do I do? And I bought like bruise cream, which I didn't know was a thing. I'm icing it on and off. I'm like, do I ice it? Do I heat it? I'm just freaking out. Like,
yeah,
I can't even play. How am I going to play? I'm going to have to do standstill. Yeah. And then I double socked, took a bunch of Tylenol, which obviously it kicked in. That's adrenaline and Tylenol. That definitely fueled
That's what
that.
carried you through. Yeah.
And yeah, at the beginning, I was really feeling it. The first drive, the first drive they say on coverage, I for sure was just on my toe and trying not to fully commit to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they noticed immediately. I guess they had that prior information too, but
Yeah.
and then as it went on, it hurt more to walk than to actually play. And
Okay.
Interesting.
I had a drive on the par 5, the first par 5. I had thrown to like the bottom tier, and I was in a really good position to just smash one and try and get like an eagle bid. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it, and if it hurts, it hurts, and just whatever.
Yeah.
Very smart to do. And I came at an Annie because I wanted to just crush over on it, and nothing hurt at all. And I was like,
Okay.
okay. Then I guess maybe Tylenol kicked in.
Yeah.
Adrenaline, Tylenol, yeah. So that is the story of me being a dummy.
Well, and that was one that luckily the Park Pro cameras don't do a behind the scenes on, or maybe we would see your scaling the steps.
Yeah.
Pops can be dangerous, kids.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah, Roots beer.
Yeah. Well, the last tournament, and we can go through that one fairly quickly, depending what you want to tell us on it. But the last one was Falcon's Flight out over in our neck of the woods here, and probably one of the last tournaments for the year. And from what we've heard and what we could see on the coverage there, that's a tight course. It looks tight on coverage. I bet you it's even tighter in person. We haven't had a chance to get down there, but tell us about that tournament.
You haven't been there?
Not yet.
It's on our tournament schedule for this year.
What is it, 2.5 for you guys?
Oh, it's easy. Yeah, it's close. But we didn't know. We were just learning tournaments, Brian. And what we understand with that tournament, and even we've heard lots of people say it now, it's like you almost have to have your disc golf scene registration loaded. And when it opens, you got to go click register.
Oh, yeah. That's a tournament that goes quick for sure. I had the pleasure of playing it for the first time ever last year. I was more than happy. It would have been nice if Rudy was there, rest in peace to Rudy. But yeah, that property is amazing. I had gone there with a friend in 2019 just to play the courses. We had a little road trip that we did during the fall. Wait, maybe not 2019. Sorry. It was during COVID. It must've been 2021 or 2020 because we weren't really allowed to travel in that time frame there. Like we couldn't leave the province. I'm like, what are we going to do in Manitoba? Like, what are we going to do? And then we finally got to leave and we're like, okay, let's go to we went to Cranbrook and we went to the Falcons Fight courses, Aspen Meadows, East and West. And I played there and I knew I could do well there. I went there and shot way better than I should have, and so I'm like, I got confidence going in this tournament, and then once again go to the tournament and then let myself down, and had a blast. It's always nice seeing all those people. I've been playing those tournaments in especially Alberta and stuff. I've been playing for 8-9 years now, going to your province to play. So it's always nice seeing people and then experiencing all the love and all the work that goes into that tournament. Like it was a great experience. And I got to do it with my better half, which was even better. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
I was just going to ask. Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Yeah, you bring them. If they want to be on, they can be on.
I was just going to ask, do you like wooded courses more? It seems like you seem to play better in those type of courses. Yeah.
I honestly don't think I play better in wooded courses, but I love playing wooded courses because it's more of a weakness. So I'm getting better, and it's much more satisfying hitting a 320-foot tunnel than throwing a 500-foot throw. Yeah. Everybody, I'm not trying to downplay like, his power, whatever. No, I have some power. I've thrown big shots, but I would much rather play in the woods because in Winnipeg specifically, we don't have a lot of 300-foot wood shots, if any, So yeah, that's a nice place to just like throw straight down the tunnel,
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, the atmosphere there, from what we've seen on the coverage and from what I've heard, like that's, Tim and Kristen said that they, driving onto the property, going through the gates, closing the gates behind you, that sort of thing, like the whole atmosphere there. So yeah, I know we're excited to play it this year.
For sure. Yeah, you guys definitely have to go.
Yeah.
Well, and it feels too, Brian, would you say like that one isn't just a tournament? Like that is kind of a disc golf gathering. Like, it seems like all the Western MPOs and FPOs are coming together. Everybody is trying to make it to that tournament. So it's almost like a closeout to the year of one more everybody together before the winter comes.
For sure. Like there's, I would say like something like BC Open, everybody's there to play well. That's their goal. They're going to go to bed early. They're going to, socialize a little bit, and they're going to wake up and they're going to play and they're going to try their best. And I feel like Falcon Spite is half people doing that and half people not doing that. And then the people in the middle that are like trying to, burn the candle on both ends, where it's like, I can stay up till here because my tea time's till this. And it's the perfect mix, I'd say, for sure.
So there's a little bit of waste management open going on. It's in some cases there.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually heard of a tournament in BC on the island. Pender. It's called the Pender Bender.
Okay. Yeah.
If you could get an idea of what that's all about, but apparently that course is like 27 holes and they're all like 150, feet, and they're up and down and tight woods and stuff. But I heard that one's not really about competition. It's definitely
there might be a few pops drunk at that course.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, so that kind of wraps up all your Canadian Disc Golf Tour events. Now, the one thing Daryl and I are doing this year is we're going to actually do a Canadian Disc Golf Tour fantasy draft, and we're going to kind of do little episodes that we're going to air and put it on our channel. And really what we're going to do, your name's going to be in there for sure.
Absolutely.
So before an event comes up, so say it is Tournament Capital Open, we're going to take a look at everybody who's registered, and we're going to pick 3 FPO and 3 MPO, and we're going to see how we do. And then the next tournament we'll pick again. So it's not going to be someone we have to carry through all the way.
Okay.
So there was an ulterior motive here to make sure we knew who we were picking when we brought you on the show. So
I got
are you planning to enter a number of the events this year once you find out which ones they are?
I would like to. I know for sure I'm not going to be at like TCO. It's a little early in the year, and I still got to get some money. I'm trying to do some overtime shifts and stuff to, get back to normal. And as soon as I hear the schedule, for sure, I'd like to add some to the list. That's definitely something I want to do. But for now, maybe don't put me in the lineups. For now.
Well, we're watching the coverage. We're looking at the results from last year. We're going to be looking at Disc Golf Scene to who is registered and things like that, see where they finished last year.
For sure.
But don't tell Jeremy, but do you have any sleeper picks for us, any standout names that we might be looking out for?
Depending on the event, there's some good Canadians coming out. There's some good BC guys now. Like I hope he forgives me. Nick from BC. He's originally from
Culver.
Iowa. Say that again.
Nick Culver.
Yeah, Culver.
Yeah.
I've heard of him in Iowa, and then he went to BC, and American disc golf's a little bit better, so he's great in BC. Also Jade Smith.
Okay.
He seems very new to disc golf and is picking it up like incredibly fast. Okay. I think he won a tournament in Australia like a month ago or something. So he's a sleeper. I don't even know if you call these guys sleepers because they're great already.
well, Nick Culver, we've heard he was mentioned last week because we had Miguel and they're kind of close friends down there. They went down to Mexico together. Yeah, but Jade, that's a new name for me, Jeremy. I don't know if you've heard that name before.
I think I saw it on the scorecards last year because he played some CDGT events, but I don't know much about him, so we'll definitely check that out. Yeah. Now, Brian, do you think you'll make it out to nationals in Clearwater this year?
That's the plan. The most vacation I have, you have to book your vacation, whatever, like in any workplace. And I have 2 days here, 1 day here, 2 days here, 1 day here, and then I have 8 days for then. So as long as everything goes okay, I should be there.
Awesome. Well, we've been watching because Dennis keeps putting out the next level and the next level of the registrations, and we're waiting for that MA40 to come up for us, but we haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, got to get some OT going so I can register for some stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of a bit of a trend because you say that you don't practice too much and you need to work on your putting practice. And Miguel last week was the same thing. He said he doesn't practice. He basically works from Monday to Friday or from month to month, and any time he has off is when the tournament starts. So he sets off, goes to the tournament, and that's kind of his practice. Is there any areas of your game that you really want to work on?
Just before I answer, does he say he doesn't practice putting? Because his putting's incredible. There's no way. He's Miguel. Come on, you must.
Well, Bryan, this is what he said. He said to us, and this is what we said after that episode was he went, guys, this year what I'm really going to just work on is practicing because normally I don't practice.
Okay,
and I'm like, oh my gosh, if you're that good and you don't practice, what's it going to be like when you do start practicing?
Exactly. I feel like he has to do a little bit of putting because his putting's way too good to not. Sorry, but for practice for me, I definitely want to be putting as soon as there's grass outside so I can have some good footing. I would like to start putting again outside. I was doing like I said, I was doing some putting and that dramatically helped. Right now, I noticed it in my last C tier that I played. My upshots are not at all working, so I should be doing that. I think they're slowly coming on, but prior to that C tier, I probably only played like a couple rounds the last 3 months before that. Cold, deep freeze Winnipeg. But I really noticed my upshots. I'm like, what the heck? Usually that's a decent part of my game. If you're within 150 feet, you should get up and down. And I was like, why am I leaving it 40 feet short? Those two for sure. The driving, I think I got it. I got it. So I think my driving's okay. Maybe my forehand. I don't do a lot of forehands in wintertime. I have this weird thing where I'm like, if it's minus 10, 20 and I'm reefing on a forehand, maybe it's more susceptible to an injury.
Right.
So I have this weird thing where I don't really throw forehands in winter.
How do you treat the winter? Do you just treat that as just keeping the motion going, just the muscle memory? You're not really practicing because your stance and everything is off from what it would be like in the summer, right?
I think I'd go mad trying to actually practice. No footing, fingertips are freezing. You slip when you putt. So yeah, mostly. I mean, this winter was the least I've played disc golf since I started. But generally, I'd say the past couple of years, it would be very much just maintaining. Playing, throwing the disc, just playing,
having fun. Yeah.
Keeping it fresh, having fun. I don't care about score in the wintertime because you got 3 feet of snow or something. You're like, who cares?
Yeah. That's fair.
Well, Bryan, we noticed you sitting there, and the next thing we wanted to talk to you about was sponsors, and it looks like you're repping both of your main sponsors. We got a hat on and a shirt on, or a jersey on.
Yeah.
So why don't we start at the top and work our way down? So you got Disc Republic going. Yeah. So you're sponsored with them this year. And I was trying to look. Was this the first year you're sponsored with them, or you've kind of been with them before? Or
I think this is my 3rd year with Disc Republic.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Second for sure. I should know this. I apologize. You know? Is it second? Second year.
Second year. There you go. Nice. Second. Thank you to the fact checker.
Thanks, bud. So yeah, Jason Tay is running a great operation there at Disc Republic. Tons of disc, new crate, new location. Oh, going into 3rd? Oh, so I've already done 2. Okay, sorry. This is going into my 3rd year.
All right.
Yeah, he has a new location and a great spot across the street from Happy Land Disc Golf Park. And he's doing great things community-wise. We're running leagues and stuff like that. So Disc Republic's excellent, and I'm sure it's probably the top disc retailer in Central Canada for sure. If not, I don't know the numbers exactly, but he's doing well. He's great. Great guy. He sponsors a bunch of us this year, which is nice. Kaylin Schatz on the team. Chantel Budinsky. I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce it.
Yep.
We got Noah Higgins. Hope he's doing well. I heard about all that stuff. The team just grew, and it's nice to see that and have that more of a team feeling instead of just like the three of us, Bryce and Austin and I. And then we got Cardinal Disc Golf.
Yeah, we do.
I actually messaged them right before Nationals last year. I was like, "Oh, this company looks awesome. The jerseys look great." And I just kind of bit my tongue and I was like, "Hey, any chance you'd sponsor like a Canadian? Because I don't notice any Canadians on your team yet and stuff." And I guess they just looked and were like, "Oh, he's okay at disc golf." And maybe they heard because there's a couple of people from BC. Maybe they talked to even Miguel or something.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Oh yeah, he's okay. He's a nice person. And so that was like, I think it was right before Nationals, and then I did well in Nationals. So they're like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll put you on." And I was so from there, they're like, "We're gonna give you your own Tour Series jersey."
Nice.
Yeah.
The Freeze right there.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a
Maple Leaf, and then
yeah.
that's it. Yeah. So I got these cool jerseys now, and you can buy one and support me. That's kind of cool too.
So you mentioned that Disc Republic is your sponsor in Cardinal, and you mentioned about the buying the equipment and things like that. Is there any sort of discount codes or codes that you could use at Disc Republic or Cardinal if they put a code of your name?
I do have a discount code. I honestly, I should have been more prepared. I was going to put out a post about my sponsors, and that's going to be coming up right away. And I will be posting my discount code. So if anybody wants to help support me, that code will be on that post. And I apologize, I didn't have it right now. Sorry, Jason.
Well, don't sweat it too much because we're recording tonight, but it'll go out next week. And by the time we get there, we'll either have it in our show notes. We can put the code. You can let us know. Or Daryl sometimes can make some magic and maybe even put it on the screen.
Perfect. So I can. It's right here.
It's right there. If you mentioned there, if people want to follow you, you'll put a post out. Where can they follow you?
Oh, okay. My Instagram handle is @Freesbee, FREESBEE. Little play on words.
Yeah.
Freesbee.
It's almost like you were born to play, really, with a name, right?
Then I met Caleb Frisbee, and his last name is Frisbee, and he's from Ontario.
Wow,
super nice guy, and he deserves it. He deserves more, and it's actually Frisbee. So I was a little
okay.
He's such a nice guy. You can't, argue with him. But Facebook actually is the same. It's Freese, FREES space BEE. So that's my name on Facebook.
Okay.
And
awesome.
So add me up. If you play disc golf, I'll add you back. If you're a bot, I won't at all. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic.
Perfect.
And those are, two great sponsors. We know with Disc Republic, like we like to support our local stores in Alberta. So we've got Limber in Calgary and we have BR in Camrose, no longer Gander, unfortunately. But the one thing that we know is that if they don't have the discs or they're not going to bring them in, we know Disc Republic just seems to have the weight, the color, the disc, everything you want. So they're doing a good job down there.
Yeah, you're a kid in a candy shop when you go to Disc Republic. We've never had anything like that in Manitoba ever. So the first time I went there, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I want to touch everything.
So it probably gets to the point there too, when we were talking about the courses, Brian, where you're like, yeah, maybe you don't come to Winnipeg quite for the courses right now, but come for the disc golf store. Definitely do that.
For sure. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then on the Cardinal jersey there, like we saw last week with Miguel, he kind of gave his a bit of a Mexican feel to it with the patterns and stuff. But it looks like you've got the true Canadian red and white. It's just shouts out Canada on there, hey?
Yeah, I was trying to decide between green, which is my favorite color, and the classic red and white. And I wanted to appeal more to my Canadian friends and family. Maybe if I have fans, I don't know.
You will after this, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
So I thought, classic red and white, represent the country. And, if I'm in the States, they're going to see like that guy's probably Canadian or he just likes red and white. I don't know.
So yeah, Kale LaVisca is going to see him.
Exactly.
Go, yeah, it makes sense, Canada. Makes sense.
Hey, Canada.
Yeah.
Nice jersey.
How much of an input did you have into the jersey? Did they kind of give you a couple of designs and you got to pick? Or did you just give them the colors and like the Freeze logo?
Yeah, there was a template. We had a couple templates and stuff, and you got to kind of pick and work off of that.
Right.
I was lucky enough that nobody took this template. I don't know. I think it looks pretty snazzy.
Yeah,
I
it
think it
looks
looks
sharp.
excellent. I'm very happy with how they turned out, and the material itself. I love the stretchy and being a little bit bigger. It's so nice to have.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. And then the design. Actually, I worked with. Oh, geez, Elaine. I think it was Lane.
Okay.
To make this design, and we were trying to decide on something, and we came up with the Freeze is with the snowflake kind of Canadian flag combined there. So
it works.
I was happy with how everything turned out, and I'm very excited to be seen on the course with this.
Awesome. Well, Bryan, normally you just kind of referenced Freeze there, but Freeze is a little too cold for what we want to talk about next. So I'm going to turn it over to Daryl for our final segment.
Don't know if you've listened to any of our episodes before, Bryan, but at this point in the show, I'm going to play a little intro for you, and then I'll give you a bit more of a rundown after that. So stand by.
Now it's time for Desert Island Discs. Picture this. You've taken a relaxing cruise, however the ship goes down. You manage to swim to an island. Unfortunately for you, there's an 18-hole disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island?
Okay.
There you go. So typically in the past, I say typically, we've never kept it to this, but it meant to start out as 1 putter, 1 mid, 1 driver. But that kind of got thrown out of the window. Pick whichever 3 discs you'd like to take with you. Which 3 discs are you picking?
So this desert island, I need a couple of things here.
Everybody overthinks this.
Yeah.
Is it windy? Is it wooded? Is it
Right. Is it a desert island in the South Pacific? Is it? No.
What we could say, Bryan, is it's paradise. It's exactly what you want it to be.
Exactly.
And to clarify, I'm sure it's implied, but I'm stuck there for life, right? Until I get rescued.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of Tom Hanks' Castaway. Yep, you might have take one of your frisbees and put a face on it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go 3.
Yeah.
We're gonna go putter-ish is gonna be. Oh geez, the glitch.
Okay.
Oh
So,
yeah.
The glitch is fun to throw. It's easy to throw. It's fun to throw.
Yeah.
But also, it's very deep dish. So
Right.
I can get some water. I could cast away Tom Hanks a fire. I made fire.
Yeah.
Or whatever he said. I can't remember the quote.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Boil my water in there. Hopefully it doesn't melt. MVP is pretty strong.
Yeah.
I can drink my water out of that deep dish pizza.
Dual purpose. I'm liking it.
That's
We love
okay.
it.
So that's the glitch.
Yeah.
And then I've been in love with the fuse ever since I've thrown it. So latitude 64 fuse. I'm assuming there's trees on this island, so I'm gonna try and work my way through some trees and stuff, and that'll just be fun to throw.
Yeah.
And then last would be something like if you've ever heard of the latitude 64 Missilin.
Oh,
I have not.
That's a new one. Is that an out of production?
It was. So we'd have to dig deep for that one, but it's a 14 or 15 speed. So you can imagine how flat and sharp
Right.
is.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to go fishing.
Right.
Or
chopping some wood, or
animals are there, but I'm going to need to end something's life with this disc. And it needs to be sharp. So
right.
This, and then, just throwing bombs, I guess, with this fast disc in the wood. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's mostly a weapon at that point. If
That's
I'm gonna
awesome.
go to anyway, I only want a putter and a mid, that's the most fun.
Yeah.
So I'd say those are probably my 3.
Wow.
Bryan, I love it. Daryl, I love it. It's a matter. Everyone else has kind of thought of what they're going to throw in there, but you have thought about survival and playing disc golf at the same time.
Everybody normally just picks discs that they have in their bag and it's their favorite disc, but I think that the thought that you put into it goes above and beyond anybody else.
Thank you. Yeah, you got it. I got to stay alive.
Exactly. I always say when people think about it, like I say, they always overthink it. Like it's Don't worry about the island. Don't worry about how you got there. Don't worry about the fact that why you're carrying 3 discs with you on a cruise. None of that sort of stuff. But
To
yeah,
be completely honest, when you gave me the show notes about the Desert Island disc, I honestly didn't think of disc golf at all. And I was thinking, I for some reason immediately thought, how can I use these discs?
How
Like
can
to
I
better
survive?
my survival? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not think of it at all. So then I was like, oh crap, I gotta play with them. Yeah,
You
so
will be
luckily it
so
worked
good
out.
when you get back to the mainland after playing with those 3
Right?
discs the whole time.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Well, Bryan, we thank you for coming on the show, and we like to give you a moment here just to, if there's anything we didn't cover, if there's anything you wanted to shout out, or if we missed a sponsor or something, you got anything, this is your time, so go ahead.
Just shout out to Disc Republic and Cardinal Disc Golf. Thanks for sponsoring me this year, guys. I'm going to look good on the course, and I hope everybody visits their sites and checks out their stuff.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, we will be sure to, yeah.
There you go.
So we will totally be sure to catch up with you if we get into Falcon's flight, or if we're out at Nationals, we'll
sure.
track you down and make sure to
Awesome.
put a actual handshake together, something like that.
Totally. Or a hug. Hugs
Yeah.
work.
Oh, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
And maybe a pop.
Maybe a
but
pop or
I
two.
think we should
Yeah.
just stay on level ground if we have a couple pops, though.
For sure, yeah. I don't want to jump down anything.
Yeah, no. We'll hold you back.
Great meeting you guys. Thanks for the
Perfect.
interview.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Bryan.
Okay, all the best, buddy. See ya.
Jeremy, we've done it again.
Yeah, Daryl, I wait for you because I saw you
I
had to
know,
take a deep breath. I was waiting for you.
Yeah, that last answer just kind of threw me for a loop there. Like like I say, we always have people that think about it and they go in depth into the reasoning behind it, but survival, that never even crossed my mind of why people would pick disc. But he's got a game plan. I'll give him that.
He is going to have to end something's life, and he's going to be ready to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome. I love it. We're gonna have to look up that disc because I don't know anything about it. But a 15 speed, yeah, I'm sure that thing is pretty much a knife.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't even know they made 15 speeds. All I've heard is a 14.5. But I mean, it's an out of production disc, like you said. So.
Yeah, the first time
we'll
one of those birds fell out of the sky when it got hit with it, then they put that disc out of out of production.
I was thinking that he was going to be using it for chopping firewood and killing it. I mean, you got to live, you got to eat, right? So
maybe you could break open a coconut with it. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? Talking about desert island discs brings us into our little teasing things that are coming in the future episodes and things that we want to do.
Yeah.
So I thought I would tease out there that we are getting very close to having 16 sets of desert island discs.
Yeah.
So what I've been putting together in my mind, and maybe we get some feedback from the listeners, what they think about it. But what I've been thinking is that any basketball players, so think of Tristan Piska, when we talked to him, he said he used to play college basketball.
Yeah.
Is in March, there's a tournament, March Madness.
I've heard of it.
Yes. And then there's a point in there when you get down to a bracket. So 16 sets of desert island discs is the perfect amount to have a bracket.
There you go. I like the way you're going. I like your thinking here, Jeremy.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking now, it may not be in March. It's likely going to be in April, but I want to put together the Desert Island Discs Madness bracket. And what my thoughts are is that we'll take everybody's Desert Island discs of the guests who've been on the show, including yours and mine, the last rendition of them that we had.
Okay.
And we'll put our names into a random generator, and then we'll fill out the bracket, and we'll have Tristan versus Tim and Kristen versus Terry, and we'll put them there.
Okay.
And we'll put a number of them up on our social media in a poll fashion for people to vote. And essentially what we're asking you to do is, if you were on a desert island and you had to take one of those sets of discs, which 3 would you take? Which is the better set of discs? So it might change from person to person.
Mm-hmm. So you're pitting discs versus discs.
Yes.
Right.
And so after we do that, we'll fill out those brackets. We'll get to the final 2. They'll go against each other. And I think that's where I want to leave it, because once we have a grand winner, I have a number of other ideas that we might be able to do with that, but that's my idea. What do you think?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It leaves a little bit of mystery of what can come next or where it's going to end, or But I like the principle of the idea to start with.
Yeah. So listeners, let us know how you feel about it, because maybe there's going to be a couple empty spaces. We haven't quite gotten to 16 sets. So possibly one option would be is to have our listeners throw in their desert island discs.
Yeah.
And maybe what we'll do is we'll randomly pick one of those listeners and put their discs in the bracket as well.
Maybe to get yourself an extra entry, you can be in the beta test for the YouTube live. So maybe there's you like your bonus entries, Jeremy. So
well, it almost felt like a little bit like that spy who came in at the end of the last episode. Oh, you want a bonus entry, do you?
I don't know what you're talking about. What spy was that? If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and watch the last episode.
Yes, for sure.
If you just listen to it, then you're missing out.
Oh yeah, like that was, to me, guys, I've been part of every episode obviously so far. I haven't missed one yet. And I told Daryl the ending of episode 18 is now my favorite moment of all. It was the best. I don't know who that guy was who showed up at the end, but
I don't know.
It made me laugh.
Yeah. I mean, the wannabe Brendan McKinstry is up there as well. I mean, that was a good section as well. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and watch. I want to say episode 7.
It would be in there, whichever one Brendan's episode was. We needed to fill in a space, and another mystery guest showed up in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, otherwise, you know what, guys? We're going to be closer to the end of this episode because there is no Winter League update. There is no Putting League update. Daryl and I are just sitting around waiting for Rundle League to start up on Thursdays, which will be happening in April.
I just have 2 things I need to interject.
Oh, sure.
1, it was episode 12.
Okay.
So nowhere near. And 2, we're now at 117. Since we've been on the air, somebody has subscribed. Maybe it was Brian.
Maybe. Well, if it was, thank you very much, Brian. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeremy. Carry on.
Yeah. So we're just waiting for leagues to start. We're going to be participating in Thursday Rundle League. We may show up at some of the other leagues if we're allowed to drop in, i.e. Nor'Wester on Tuesdays or something like that, just because we can't commit to them every single week, but we will try to show up here and there where we can.
Yeah, I did just have a thought. People in Edmonton that are listening, if you haven't heard the news, the Hills Disc Golf Course, which, as we've already spoken to Tim about, doesn't fall under Edgar's jurisdiction. Like, they have no say really in regards to the course itself.
Well, kind of like Augusta, it rules itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. It stands alone. But unfortunately, in the neighborhood, it's a course that was installed by the developer of the area, so they have the say over what happens to the course. And unfortunately, some of the residents, I guess there's been some accidents that have happened, somewhere along the lines where discs have gone over into people's backyards and maybe damaged their siding or anything that was in their yards. So at the moment, the last that I heard was that the developer is looking to close or remove 3 of the holes on the course. And I do know that Tim is trying to work with the developer to see what can be done to maybe relocate those 3 holes to the other side of the course, or try and work something out there to keep it a 9-hole course. But now that you're mentioning leagues and that we're going to be at Rundle, one of the other leagues that I signed up for was the Hills Anytime League. But if it's not a 9-hole course anymore, I wonder what's going to happen with that. Whether, so that'll be a question for Tim that we'll have to find out.
Well, it could be interesting. They could create a couple extra safari type holes, or maybe you'll just play. Maybe it'll be 3 rounds of 6 or something like that, if that was the case.
Yeah, good point.
So another thing, I guess, while we're talking about kind of news locally about courses, you're talking about hills down in your area. Another thing that's happening is up in St. Albert in my area. We've had Langholm disc golf park, which is a 9-hole course, and it's always been a temporary. It started out as orange Home Depot buckets hanging from a tree to see if those were the baskets, and that was to see if the city would entertain having a disc golf course, if there was any interest by the residents, and there definitely was interest. And so they put in 9 baskets, but there are no tee pads, just dirt tee areas marked with signs.
Yep.
But now what's going on is the city has built an 18-hole course that is a summer or spring, summer, fall course called Kingswood in one area of the city. And now they want to revisit Langholm, and they want to put a permanent 9-hole course in St. Albert. So
Nice.
Langholm is an option, and they have 2 other parks that are also possible options. I think for the most part, the consensus is among the disc golfers is that Langholm is where we'd like it to be. But the city of St. Albert does have a survey, and we encourage everybody, if you've ever played Langholm, you can have a say. It's going to ask you where you live. So maybe if you don't live in St. Albert, it's maybe weighted differently, your opinion. But get your opinion in there, and let's try to make sure we get a good disc golf course in St. Albert where we want it, not one where the city puts it because they didn't get the feedback that they should have.
Yeah. Now, I've only visited Langholm this year with you. I've never played. I just took
Kingswood?
Kingswood. Does Kingswood have tee pads?
Kingswood has turf tee pads, but it's also a cross-country ski area, so they've made it very flat to the ground. The tee pads are great. The baskets are set a little lower in the ground, so everything feels a little low when you're putting. And they do pull those baskets out in the winter so that it doesn't impact the cross-country skiers.
Right, but they do have tee pads. I was just coming back to Langholm where they don't have tee pads. So, wherever they put that 9-hole course, you're saying that they're probably going to be looking at putting tee pads and making it a permanent fixture?
Yeah, I would expect, in speaking with Brock, who knows a little bit with the city of St. Albert, that they would probably go ahead. They did enjoy the look and the aesthetic of the turf tee pad. So I'm sure they would look to put more of those in.
Awesome. Yeah. And, whether it's the same course in the same location, but just with improved tee pads and baskets or whatever they're going to be looking at doing, any permanent fixture of a disc golf course is a positive.
Yeah. And a huge shout out to Nick Legault, because we got to play with him in Tundra Toss. He's the person who really pushed at the beginning to get the Langholm course up and running, and he designed those holes. Right. And as you said, you've been out there. That course is always busy. For a short course, it is designed well and gives you a lot of different shot choices. And I'll go out there as often as I can because it's just that good and that replayable. So it'd be nice to be a permanent course.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for a 9-hole course, it doesn't feel like a short pitch and putt course.
No. Now, we did say, Daryl, that we are a Canadian disc golf podcast. Some of our Canadians are down south right now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on that a little bit and just say we've got the Women's Disc Golf Championships happening this weekend as we're recording. By the time you listen to this, it'll already be done. But we're excited about that because not only is Chantal Badinsky Miss Frisbee's down there. Hey, Bryan Frisbee and Miss Frisbees. We got lots of Frisbees.
Yeah.
So she's down there, but Gabby Lee is down there and Kat Johnson is. Hopefully by the time you listen to this, we've got great news that one of them has done well, or all 3 of them have done well and had a great tournament.
Yeah.
But we do know as of today, Chantal was tied for 8th, I believe, after the first round, which puts her up in the top standings with some of those high-rated U.S. women.
Yeah, that's always good to hear. It's always good when people don't play so well, and then the next time you see them, they bounce right back and have that good round, right? So, yeah, always like to see Chantal or any of the Canadian FPO, MPO, any Canadian player doing well.
Definitely. And then also for the MPO side, we got Thomas Gilbert and Max Rajitnik are still down in the U.S. They both got the week off, but Thomas Gilbert will be playing at Throw Down the Mountain, which is back at Paul Macbeth and Dylan Cease's course.
Yeah.
So that'll be that version of it. So Thomas will be quite familiar. He played there recently in the chess.com Open.
Yeah.
And then Max is going to be playing in Texas States. So really for those guys, good luck in your tournaments, and we hope you do well. Do Canada proud.
Yeah, keep your keep the rhythm going. Keep keep not practicing. What's the word I'm looking for? Keep
honing your craft.
Keep honing your craft. Yeah. Keep limber. There you go.
There you go.
See?
Well, Daryl, I'm just wondering, we're at that end part of the episode.
But not the very end, Jeremy.
Not the very end. No.
We don't want to miss it. We keep missing it. We keep letting it slip by. We keep forgetting about things, but we're going to make sure we don't forget it this time.
No, we won't. So if that super secret spy happened to just come into that door staged left of you, what do you think he might say?
I don't know. I was going to say something else in before you said that. I was just going to say that we appreciate everybody listening. We kind of see that, when the guests leave, we appreciate people sticking around to the end of the episode. So
yes,
we like to have that interaction, and we've done secret words in the past, and it's always fun to read the comments of people that we can know that they've listened to the end of the podcast because they kind of slipped that secret word in. And what we always say is we don't want to just give you a secret word and you put it down in the comments. Like, what we'd like you to do is use the secret word, put it in a sentence, and that way, if anybody else is just reading the comments, they're not just going to see a random word and be like, oh, that must be the secret word. If you put it inside a sentence, that always works.
Yeah, and it made it a lot of fun here this last episode of Miguel's because we got to see everybody's Spanish skills and not only secret word, we can say it now, of course, it was horse feeder.
Yeah.
But I think we even got was it Dylan who gave us horse feeder in Spanish, like comer something?
Yeah, we had a few people, like you said, Dylan and Matthew,
and Sam as well.
Sam, sorry. Yeah.
So we love it, guys. That's fun interaction for us. We hope you enjoy it too. So we're going to give you the secret word, and I hope I've given Daryl enough time to come up with it.
I got a word in my mind. I'm just wondering if you've got a word. My word, I'm thinking, seeing as Bryan brought it up, maybe we could say something along. I want to say wobbly pop, but I mean he didn't say wobbly pop. He just said pop. But can you think of is there another word that maybe Bryan kind of mentioned there, or a thing that he touched on?
I think pop was good. Otherwise, I was just going to pull one of his Desert Island discs and maybe use the fuse because I thought you could use fuse in a bunch of different ways. Maybe
there you go. Yeah, I like that.
Maybe
better.
if you can link fuse and pop together.
Yeah, there you go. You'll get a bonus entry.
Hey, there you go. It's fuse pop. Put it together however you want to do it.
Yeah.
However you want to use those two words, throw them in the comments. That's it. It's a double secret word night.
Double secret word. Yeah. Good luck. And thank you for listening all the way to the end.
Yeah. There's only one thing left to do, and we know everybody's waiting for it. Well, we don't know that they are. If I say everybody's waiting for it, someone's going to put in the comments, we're going to get somebody going, no, we're not waiting for it, Jeremy.
No, we're kind of tired of it, actually, Jeremy.
Well, if you are, tell us that as well.
It doesn't matter because it's not going anywhere.
No.
Well, I've never heard of a missilin. Is that what he called it? A missilin?
Yeah, missilin. Yeah.
Missilin, yeah. It almost sounds like a missile.
Exactly.
Yeah. It would be a long bomber disc, I would imagine. With it being a 15 speed.
Yeah. Got to have an arm for that one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the arm for it. No matter how close I was. It could be like 150, 200-foot hole.
Right.
If I stepped up on the tee-pad with that disc, it would be so overstable for me. We've talked about it when we first began. We were throwing those 75-foot, 100-foot hyzers.
Yeah.
We're a little bit further on in the game now. Maybe we could reach that basket.
80, 85. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So we throw it halfway up the fairway. Then we pick it up again and we throw it towards the basket. It's going to sail right up in the sky.
It is.
Because that's the way we throw when we're beginners, right?
And it's a missile, so.
Yeah, it's going to go sky high. It's going to flip over. It's going to start coming. It's going to start coming down on a big hyzer. It's going to aim right to that basket, Jeremy. It's going to be coming down that it's not even going to touch any change. It's going to go right in the bottom of the basket.
Really?
But for us, that isn't what's going to happen.
Oh, what's going to happen?
There's only one thing that could happen if we were throwing that disc.
Totally. There is one thing and one thing only. That missilin is going to do what?
It's only going to
chainout! Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I'm not ready. Keep talking, Jeremy. Keep talking.
We appreciate you. We thank you for your subscribing, for your likes, for your comments. Everything you do for us is fantastic. We'll catch you next time.
Okay, thanks, everybody.